to Fahrenheit 451, Lesson 6, Writing a Precise Claim, Counterclaim, and Rebuttal. We've been reading Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave, by Frederick Douglass, and analyzing and assessing how the author develops claims and the central idea. Today we will analyze a writing prompt. Practice outlining an analysis paragraph and writing a claim, counterclaim, and rebuttal, and then write the analysis paragraph. To complete this, you will need Chapter 7 from Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave by Frederick Douglass that appeared in Lesson 4, your central idea and theme tracker from Lesson 2, your Analyzing Language handout from Lesson 4, your Analyzing and Assessing Claims handout from the previous lesson, and new to this lesson, the Writing and Analysis Paragraph handout. So what we're going to start by doing is completing Part 1 of the Writing and Analysis Paragraph handout. This is important because it prepares us for the assessments at the end of the unit. Because structuring an argument with the claim, counterclaim, and rebuttal is an important building block for writing the essay in the culminating writing task and the research essay for the extension task. It is also an important part for completing the persuasive speech in the extension task. The Writing and Analysis Paragraph handout is broken down into steps to take to write a strong paragraph. You're going to want to keep this handout handy throughout the unit to refer back to. So let's look at Part 1 of the Writing and Analysis Paragraph handout. Now you actually have two separate documents. You have a Google Doc that is Writing and Analysis Paragraph, but then you also have a Google Slide. The Google Slide is actually what we're talking about here. That's where you're going to record all of your pre-writing information. And let me just go ahead and give you this word of warning or suggestion. Pre-writing is important here. Sitting down to write a rough draft of an analysis paragraph about claims isn't going to get you very far unless you do the pre-writing to lead up to it. So let's look at Part 1. Part 1 is analyzing the prompt. What does Douglass value? Determine and explain Douglass's point of view based on his word choice, claims, and evidence. Cite strong and thorough textual evidence, including direct quotations. Use grade appropriate words and phrases, grammar, punctuation, and spelling. So what you're going to do with this prompt is first, you're going to underline the main task and box other directions in the prompt. Then you're going to fill in the following statement. Now to fill in the statement on the slide and any place where there's underscores, you're going to want to highlight the underscores and type over. I must blank a paragraph that determines and explains blank and how blank, blank, and blank contribute to blank. I should include blank and use blank in the paragraph. Now we're going to complete Part 2 of the Writing and Analysis Paragraph handout. So let's look at Part 2. Part 2 is determining point of view and how word choice, claims, and evidence contribute to it. So first, you're going to write down Douglass's point of view, then what claims support that point of view, then the word choices that support that point of view, and the text evidence that supports that point of view. Remember to refer back to your Analyzing Language handout and the Analyzing and Assessing Claims handout. You also may want to refer back to the text and any annotations you made surrounding the claims and the supporting evidence. I'm going to give you about 8 minutes to work on this. Now you're going to complete part 3 of the Writing and Analysis Paragraph handout. Remember that an analysis paragraph includes claim, evidence, and reasoning. This is the structure used for the body paragraph of an analysis essay. So let's look at our organizer for part 3. It looks like a diagram because it is. Part 3 is all about planning the claim paragraph. You're going to start at the top by including the claim. Then you're going to have your 3 pieces of evidence. Remember, those are the SCs for that particular claim. The evidence from the text that supports the claim, and then the reason why that evidence supports the claim. That's where it goes in reason 1, 2, and 3. And notice reason 1 refers back to evidence 1, reason 2 to evidence 2, and reason 3 to evidence 3. That's how does this evidence support that claim. So I'm going to give you again about 8 minutes to work on this plan. Remember to refer back again to your Analyzing Language handout as well as the Analyzing and Assessing Claims handout. And more than likely, hint, you're going to need to refer back to the text and any annotations you made in the text. Having a precise claim is key to writing a strong analysis. A precise claim is a claim that uses a strong verb and strong and thorough evidence from the text. So I want you to listen and follow along as I revise my claim to be more precise. When I'm thinking about how to make my claim more precise, I'm going to think about several key questions. So let's look at my claim on the following slide. My claim is that Douglas utilizes imagery that evokes strong emotions and examples from his own life to develop his point of view that learning to read led him to fight for his freedom. Does my claim include a strong verb to describe what the author does? The strong verb I chose was utilizes. You could use utilizes. You could also use uses, although uses isn't as strong as utilizes. And there are several other strong verbs you can use to prove your point. Does my claim connect back to the prompt by describing the type of language that Douglas uses? It talks about how he uses imagery that evokes strong emotions. So yes, it does. Does my claim connect back to the prompt by describing the type of claim that Douglas uses? In this case, the type of claim are the examples from his own life. So again, yes, it does. And does my claim connect back to the prompt by explaining Douglas's point of view? Yes. Yes, it does. It talks about how his point of view is learning to read led him to fight for his freedom. So now I want you to take your claim that you wrote back at the top of part 3 and follow the sentence frames down below to fill in for a more precise claim. So, what makes a strong counterclaim and rebuttal? I want you to listen and follow along as I model thinking through the construction of a counterclaim and rebuttal. So let's look at part 5. Part 5 looks a lot like part 3. We begin with the counterclaim at the top. The counterclaim is what someone would say to refute your claim. So if you said, for instance, the sky is blue, and then someone comes back with, no, the sky is gray. So again, remember, it could be, your claim has to be defensible, but it also has to be arguable. You have to be able to defend your claim, but someone also has to be able to come back and say, hey, no, your claim is wrong, and be able to give reasons why. So that's what you're going to do here, is you're going to include your counterclaim. So if my claim, going back, is that Douglas utilizes imagery that evokes strong emotions and examples from his life to develop his point of view that learning to read led him to fight for his freedom, someone else might say that he used another type of figurative language, or he used flashback to have a different point of view. And that's what they would write. That's what you would write here, thinking that they're going to counter your claim, go against your claim. And when writing a counterclaim, you need to think about 3 things. What claims could someone make against your argument? If you were arguing against yourself, what would you say? And what other responses to the prompt could be valid? Again, that goes back to that possibly saying that somebody would say that Douglas used flashback, or that a different point of view existed. Now, the rebuttal is what you would say in response to that counterclaim. No, my claim is correct because of this. And so when writing that rebuttal, you want to think about, what would my response to this counterclaim be? What makes my claim more valid than that counterclaim? And so your counterclaim, the counterclaim to yours, again, may deal with flashback, and you might say, no, yes, flashback was used, but the imagery that Douglas uses better depicts his point of view and his ideas behind his point of view. And then your evidence provides support for your rebuttal. You're not providing support for the counterclaim. You don't want to give that counterclaim any more weight. You want to provide evidence to support that rebuttal. So now I want you to complete part 5 and part 6 of the writing a counterclaim and a rebuttal. And just as we did with writing a more precise claim, if you look at part 6, you're dealing with for example, my example of the counterclaim more precisely would state, some might argue that Douglas values the innate quality of humans to persevere over obstacles. And then my rebuttal is, this is invalid. And you want to make sure you state that it is invalid, because without the experience and knowledge Douglas gained from reading, he would not have had the motivation to fight for his freedom. And so you're going to use those sentence frames as well to boost up the counterclaim and rebuttal, to make them more precise. I'm going to give you about 10 minutes to do so. Now, how many people knew homework was going to come? Your homework is to write the claim and counterclaim paragraphs in the writing and analysis paragraph handout. That one is the Google Doc. You're going to need your copy of Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave by Frederick Douglass, your writing and analysis paragraph handout, which is the Google slide and the Google Doc, your analyzing language handout, and your analyzing and assessing claims handout. Congratulations! You have now completed Lesson 6 of the Fahrenheit 451 unit. In this lesson, you expressed your understanding of a text through planning to write claim and counterclaim paragraphs. Yes, you have to write 2 of them. You also practiced writing a precise claim, a counterclaim, and a rebuttal, as well as finding evidence and developing reasoning.